Afternoon, everybody. I'm going to give it a few minutes here, well, at least a minute, let everybody log on. It's been an interesting morning and afternoon. Lots happened today. I want to go through that. Like I said, I always got to give it that little bit to let people come on. And I'm a little bit early, too. I notice it's 1:59. We'll wait, let everybody come on. People are starting to come in. Hello, everybody. Gotta have a good talk here this afternoon. I had a great day. I was in forum. I did my Russia forum via Zoom. It was excellent. Hosted by Texas. It was just incredible. I actually tagged Richard Albert in this post because some things have happened in Canada and I've added it to the narrative. I see everybody starting to come in the room. So, hello everybody. We're going to get into it here. I put in the heading a list of things we have to go through, and I've been going to Russia for almost 4 years straight now. I've been hammering Russia on all the colonial embedments of Canada, all our problems, doing it in the name of independence. And it seems as of 2020, Russia's made a whole bunch of changes to its constitution in amendments, and they've cemented a whole bunch of powers. While those powers are defined differently, like the term used under the same definition of Canada, it seems a lot of the things I complained about over the last 4 years in Canada's constitutional monarchy, embedded colonialism, that absolutely strips all of you of many rights and freedoms, powers. It really affects autocracy. It gives our elected officials immense autocratic power in a secondary behind-the-scenes system. Now, what seems very clear, and I was in, so everybody knows, I was in a live forum with Russia's Constitutional Court, one of those justices today. Not anymore. She's a professor of law now. She teaches constitutionalism in Lithuania, former Soviet, right? And what's interesting about all those countries, they've never lived in colonialism. They know Soviet Union, and they know what that was like, but they don't have any clear reference to colonialism. They don't understand that system that us here in Canada know very well, or anyone who's actually taken the time to really look at it, really go through it in real terms and definitions. So I did that. I spent years, while I tried to take Alberta to independence, I've spent years, and even this last year, very seriously on the world academic stage. And I've been all across to many countries, many platforms. Richard Albert has been a big one as the director of Texas's Law, Faculty of Law at Texas U. Now, he's a pretty big deal, sharp guy. And you know what? He's been just awesome at bringing academics. I got even more today from this forum. More gave emails. I don't know that they're on board yet. Obviously, I have to communicate with them. But I have high hopes that a bunch are going to come forward. And the whole point, we're going to get into everything, but I want to stay on track here, not get too excited about stuff. So Putin did these amendments January of 2020, and now they're getting pushed into Russia's system, and now all these academics are looking at it going, whoa, what's going on here? What is this? This is pure autocracy. Well, for a guy like me, I look at it and go, holy smokes, you know, they may have changed the name of it or the position, but the absolute description is exactly all the colonial problems of Canada I've highlighted. We're going to go through that. It's in the title. For one, when we look at now, according to those amendments and what's been done to the Constitutional Court of Russia, that now resembles a lot of what the Privy Council does through the Governor General onto our Supreme Court of Canada. Okay? That's exactly what it is. You can call it different things. You can embed it behind the scenes in our Constitution, as Canada does. But ultimately, that power, Putin and Russia, they're different. They just go, oh, I like it. It sure seems that way. I like all your gripes and your complaints about autocracy and colonialism in Canada for Alberta independence. In fact, we like everything you've highlighted so much, we're going to embed that in amendments directly, meaning we're going to absolutely put it out there front and center. Now, the world's noticed. Obviously, USA, many countries around the earth have noticed, but I notice none of the colonial countries are speaking up at all. It's only countries absent in their constitutional systems of colonialism that are really speaking up here. And of course, I spoke up because I'm a separatist. But let's go through it now. So that was the first thing I put. I put, Russia's constitutional court versus the Privy Council. A power of an amendment Putin put in as president saying he's going to administer over that court so that they can't do any constitutional amendments. Well, that is much the same as what the Privy Council, through Governor General, does absolutely to our Supreme Court of Canada. It's been like that for a very, very long time. Canadians don't pick up on it because we don't know any better. We've lived this system of autocracy for absolutely ever. Next thing that Putin did, 2020 amendments, that everybody's up in arms about, is he cemented no term limits. Well, that's exactly the system of Canada. Exactly the same. We don't have any term limits, not for Prime Minister and not for any Premier in Canada. That's a fact. They can be re-elected forever. They can control the media. They can do whatever. They can stay in power ultimately forever. It doesn't happen, but generally we end up voting one major party over another. And now Putin, he just sequesters anybody who wishes to run against him. That's what he does. Next thing we're going to get into an amendment Putin did was Governor General of Canada. They took that power of Crown and then they called it President power now. And it's absolutely exactly the same thing. What Governor General is able to do in every federal bill and act, what they're able to do over Supreme Court and rulings, is absolutely now what Putin can do. So Governor General of Canada, when you look at the definition and absolute powers, is now President of Russia. Then you go down the list a little bit more. We look at Russia, they have Prime Minister. Well, I messed up there. I'm sorry, I got to go back. Governor General matches absolutely Prime Minister, which is the second level down of Putin. Putin as president has taken the amendments to match absolutely the same thing as Her Majesty. That power put in our Constitution in every act and legislation, and Her Majesty is really Prime Minister of Canada. It doesn't go to Queen of England. That hasn't been in law since 1952. It's still placed in all our bills. It's regurgitated over and over, but it's just fancy language for absolutely Prime Minister of Canada, who uses Governor General the same way. That term is the same as President Putin. He doesn't hide behind a Her Majesty clause. He calls it President. And then what he does, and what Justin Trudeau does, is he uses Governor General, and then there's Putin using his Prime Minister. See, they have the overriding power. They absolutely got all their amendments from Canada. I don't know if I influenced this in all the many letters I've sent out to the UNSC, who has this veto power on this earth since 1946. That's the world. All of those countries have absolute veto over the highest court in the world, the International Court of Justice. Just below that is the International Criminal Court. Just below that is International Court of Justice. But a country has to voluntarily enter into it. But even still, even if they go into it and everything's decided, any one of those Privy Council members can absolutely veto their decisions. Same with the International Court of Justice. It's how countries get independence, or regions get independence. They have to go to UNSC. No court anywhere in the world is going to be able to do anything for you unless those 5 make the decision. Now, Putin has that power. Canada doesn't have that power. They've never had it. So it never affected Canada the same way. Putin's not scared of throwing president, prime minister forward the way Canada does exactly the same way, even though they hide behind a crown power that's been made illegal in this world by all those five. It's been thrown out since 1946, but Canada kept it, and secretly, whenever they do acts on an international comparative side, they leave it all out. But absolutely every single parliamentary and provincial bill that does not require any international looking in absolutely embeds all the colonial power. You will not find one bill that doesn't have Her Majesty. Now, when you look at, like, for example, the Supreme Court was contracted to go out and come up with the law in relation to going independent. They took that out internationally. If you review that law, which is the Clarity Act, you'll find that none of those terms or definitions are inside it. Not a one, because it was done internationally, and Canada was too scared to put the name Prime Minister on it or Senate, everything else. Now, with Crown Power too, there's another amendment. Russia is struggling, and former Soviet academics are struggling to understand, is what's happened with their absolute parliament. And all you have to do is look at our absolute appointed Senate, again, going to the power of the Crown, Her Majesty, which is, again, Justin Trudeau or any other Prime Minister elected. Prime Ministers absolutely appoint all senators their lifetime. And just today, we're going to get to the last bit of it, just to prove my absolute point here, the Supreme Court of Canada. Now, it doesn't matter what you think about Mike Duffy's history, okay? He was a director for CTV, and then he went on and became in upper house government himself, a senator. Never mind what he did or what you think of him. The point was this. He took his case to the Supreme Court of Canada, and I quote today, this is important, Richard Albert. They said, we do not have the authority to rule on anything in regards to Senate. Senate has absolute authority in Canada because of the Crown power, because Senate, they say, oh, Senate's above the law. The law don't even apply to Senate. There is no law in Canada over any of the Crown division of powers that were taken in 1952 and cemented in all those parts of government. There's not a whole lot. There's absolutely the appointed Senate, the lowest branch of absolute Crown autocratic power. These people are not voted in. They have absolute allegiance to any Prime Minister who's ever been elected. Prime Minister has absolute full autocratic Crown authority. So does Governor General, the entire Privy Council, that's lifetime. Anytime one's ever been made, until they die, they're a member of the Privy Council. They swear an oath to the Crown, which is an oath to Prime Minister. So when you look at Jason Kenney, who's a sitting Prime Minister, and people start wondering, why does he do things that aren't conservative or aren't for his party? He's already made a deal because he swore that oath to the Crown, which is ultimately right now Justin Trudeau. That's why they do these things. That's why they're allowed to lie to you, do whatever they want. And it's horrible, but they don't have to answer to anybody. There's absolutely no constitutional rules whatsoever of how you're to be governed in this country. Worse, 2/3 of Canada's division of powers placed on the provinces is absolutely zero constitution in place. There are absolutely no rules. The only rules reside in the federal Crown power, and that's all any premier in any province ever has to worry about, is that the Lieutenant Governor, through Governor General back to Prime Minister, and Prime Minister's Privy Council, or Senate oversight to appoint, but Premier's higher than that, and this is how it works. Think of the Governor General just like Putin's prime minister. That's exactly the same thing. The amendments Putin has made are exactly everything that's been complained about colonial Canada to the UNSC. Putin's looked at it. It looks like to me, I don't know if you're a lawyer out there, an expert academic, look at it comparatively. Don't get wrapped up so much in courts. Look at the oversight over courts, what judges are bound to by law. And then they open up the Constitution and say, oh no, I'm subject to the Governor General. Or in Superior Court, oh no, I'm subject to the Lieutenant Governor. And absolutely, a senator gets wind of it, they rat out to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister goes to his go-to Governor General. Governor General calling up on the phone to Lieutenant Governors. And guess what? Judges are going, I'm sorry, I can't even hear this case. Or, I'm sorry, even if they hear the case, the lawyer brought up a great remedy, something I should look at having to enforce here. I can't do that. The Crown says, nope, don't do that against government. Turn them down. It's not your right. You don't have the jurisdiction or the authority because we're in an autocratic system. We are absolutely the opposite of juristocracy, which in those Spanish colonials of former time, South America is going through. It's crazy, I know, but this is why constitutionalism, creating constitutions, dismemberment, redesign, has to be done by a mass amount of world experts. They all have tremendous amounts to put in and actual expressions of countries that have got failings. Even the United States federally has some serious failings. You might not want to adopt all the things of that old Constitution. There's a lot of great division of powers for the states. There's even more we could take on as provinces. But that's all got to be worked out with experts because we take history, we take policy developed from constitutions and comparative analysis of world constitutions. What's been a failure? What's been a success? And you do have to look at all these countries. And I just want to leave with this, everybody. With my party, the Canadian Constitutionalist Party, just imagine this for a minute. If you don't think this will be successful, and I'm just saying, imagine me going forward, and let's say in the next year I grow my world academic base of supporters up in the hundreds, let's just say hundreds, from every ethnicity, every major country in the world. Can you imagine I go into a place like Toronto or right here in Edmonton, Mill Woods, and I have an Indian expert who speaks multiple language of where all those people immigrated from, becoming Canadian citizens, and they hear one of their top world experts, one of their former countrymen who's smart, woman even, doesn't matter, there's quite a few, and I know just for India I have quite a few. Imagine having that roll out in a live forum, detailed, going through constitutionalism, the do's and don'ts, what we can do, how we can address this stuff. Polish communities, Nigerian communities, Somalian communities. This is where I'm getting to. I didn't take this lightly, and it's what we can do as an entire diverse country. I can reach all of it. I literally can reach all 338 and broken down into further and have everybody in place, really. And it's not out of the fancy anymore. It's all coming together. It's very exciting. And, I'm disappointed where Russia went. I didn't think, I'm not saying I had any influence into it. I just know I complained about a lot of these things. And unfortunately, Soviet and former Soviets and some Russian academics are coming forward going, hey, what the heck, where does this come from? I hate to say it, it absolutely comes from Canada. It's just they're changing the name, same definition, same application, and unfortunately, maybe that's what it is. Like, oh, great, thanks, this autocratic power, we never thought of this before. We never really looked into colonialism before. Thanks, we'll apply that on our country too. And it is really scary for Russia people. like if that's the case, I don't know. I'm going to let the best of the best look at it, and I think I'm going to have to write something. Obviously, Richard, I'm going to have to write something to you, and I hope it goes out. I have those contacts from Lithuania and other experts, that former justice from Russia too. So I guess I will email out. I'll contact him. I'll write something up. I'll go through the details. But really, I've been through with Dimitri. I know a lot of my followers have been with me live. Russia's even given us English. If I ask for it, they give English, And everybody's telling me that nobody can get a Russian constitution. But I sat live while Russia orally read the entirety of it out in their parliament, hosted by none other than the UNSC rep for Russia. And I complained, and then they gave me an English version with Rupley. So all I have to do is replay that back and transcribe it into words. And so I don't know. It's you wonder about the world. Russia's been nice to me, but I don't know about taking that colonial power and cementing it in absolutes for their constitution. And there is no way for the Russian people to ever get that changed. They can't even go to the International Court of Justice. Definitely not going to go to the International Court of Criminal Court, because Russia will just veto it anyway. So, who knows? You try to get out there, you try to do things according to the world's rules, but, maybe there's negative things that happen too. I'm not saying that's what it is. I'll leave it for the experts, but I'm just telling you all from my perspective, what I've sent out to Russia and all the other all the crybaby letters going through what's wrong with Canada. Maybe Russia said, hey, wow, we've never looked at colonialism in this respect. Canada's onto something here. And now all of a sudden they've cemented all of these exact same changes, even changing the definition terms of president and prime minister. And when you compare it, I'm pretty sure, when you compare Canada to what Russia's amendments of 2020 going against the 1993 Constitution, you're going to find that's absolutely true. And I believe so anyway. So that's my update today, everybody. It's what it is and why, this can be done. It can be done positively. We can change the system in Canada if we get the backing from everybody. And I think with world academics on town halls hosted, which will give them a stage to share their knowledge and do something worldwide. And who knows, maybe a changed Canada, or if not, at least a designed province in every province of Canada and territory will absolutely make Canada a better place too. And giving the people, 2/3 of the rights and freedoms you don't have. Another thing I want to get into real quick is acts. Acts can be thrown away left, right, and center by any incoming government. All they need is a majority or win enough opposition party to pass it. And when you don't have a cemented constitution outline how you're to be governed, how your politicians are to behave, what the limits and rules they're going to have, and what they need to absolutely address emergencies, you're going to always get what you get. And it doesn't matter what people say. I worry about people with independence thinking, oh, we know how to write a constitution, we're going to write it. I can tell you there's literally nations, they're alive today, these nations all over the world, with serious problems constitutionally. Thought it was a good idea, and then it bred another problem. Look at South America, and all of a sudden the courts run the show. Full aristocracy in a lot of South American countries. That's the flip side of colonialism. Oops, few wrong decisions in the constitutional design, and look, now the courts run the show. Can you imagine a judge hammering out the policy all the time? Leaders terrified of judges which they call super judges. And, you learn this stuff. And it's like, wow, I can't believe that is in that world, and that's all Spanish, and it's like, wow, it's interesting. There's successful nations, higher successful nations. How do we get there? How do we make something right now using all of it? The failures, the wins, taking little bits and making this matrix of what would be good for Canada or what would be good for the provinces. Or if we can't fix Canada, we can't win that, what's good for independent, sovereign provinces who go for independence? And that's what we all got to look at, whether people like it or not. I say do them all at the same time. Roll out the experts from the world, put that in under the umbrella of a federal party, because they'll have that safety net in that pure autocracy. That's the truth. I could lie to you all, but all political parties end up, once they're registered, are pure autocracy, because that's our system. I'm going to be entering it again too, but I'm never going to let it get usurped. It's going to just be that party board with these defined goals, and we're going to let the experts take care of everything and educate all of you. We'll set it all up, we'll organize all the events, but we're absolutely going to not only do that, we're going to codify the party in real promise, real policy and platform. And I know that's easy to say, and like all politicians, just ignore it. And I guess that's true, but I did leave a party. I did give up the autocracy to go back to the drawing board, and I really believe this is the way forward. I wouldn't let this get hijacked. I would keep it cemented in that one focus for all of you, all the people. And that's the path and direction, using the best of the best worldwide to teach all of you in some kind of platform. That's my goal. That's where we're going, federally, provincially, territorially. And you know what? If need be, if that doesn't work federally, at least let the provinces who wish to, see you later, we're out of here, we want independence. And if that's the case, there it is. It'll be done for you. It'll be presented for you. You will have that clear path. And it's for everybody, for every Canadian. So I say, join, get on board, get the EDAs built, get in the 2023 election, because I believe this will get really exciting. Something never done in Canadian history, when all of a sudden a party rolls out absolute we the people with the real experts, the real people who know how to get these legal things done and worded the proper way, and absolutely challenge the pure autocracy, the colonialism that is still embedded in this constitutional monarchy today. Thanks for watching, everybody. I know it's a lot to absorb. Have a great afternoon. Share, share, share. Bye now.